And good evening. And look, we're here in higher definition with hopefully even better sound quality. I hope you can hear me really well because we've got a new microphone. I'm now using a better camera because the demand has been so high. I thought, why not? Let's do a bit of streaming gadgetry. So I got onto me eBay and my Amazons, and we've upgraded it all to make it, I think it looks. I've even dusted. I've even cleaned the screen because now there's no excuse. Whatever you see is what is here, and I can't get away with anything. Well, tonight's a big night. Look how busy we are. Hundreds of you watching already. Fabulous. Thank you so much for coming to join us. A bit of equestrian and dressage fun and entertainment in these really troubling times. However, what I would ask you to do, if you don't want people to miss out with this, please share this link. Just share this link to groups or on your own private wall or anything so friends don't miss out and say, oh, I missed it live. But don't worry, if they have missed it live, it will be on the Facebook page forever. But obviously it'll get buried by all our funny posts we put up. But it'll be on the Facebook page forever. But also tomorrow it will be up on our YouTube channel. And now Mrs. Equidance has been busy this week up on our website. If you go to, let me see if I can find it here, www.equidance.co.uk. If you go there, there's now a tab that says Equidance Live, and it's got all of the back episodes. I mean, everything. So all of Series 1 in first lockdown, and we're halfway through Series 2 now. Everything will be documented and archived there, so you can go back and watch it or share it afterwards anyway. So fabulous. Right, let's look. I've got some housekeeping to get through first of all and some interesting things to tell you. Equidance clinics. Now, just a little note. I know we're going to come out of lockdown at some point soon, hopefully. And I've got this horrible feeling that everyone's going to want an Equidance clinic immediately. I mean, I think we had 7 cancelled in January and February. So not cancelled, but moved. So they're going to move to a date as soon as possible. So if you do want an Equidance freestyle music clinic, please, please, please email Kelly and put one provisionally in the diary because I don't want you to be disappointed. If you want music done for the summer, you're going to need to do that fairly soon. And this is her email. It's mrs.equidance@gmail.com. Please, mrs.equidance@gmail.com. Make a note of that and get in touch with Kelly because she will sort you out with a clinic date. Because honestly, I know it's not like we've lost work. It's just all our work's been deferred, and it's going to be manic, isn't it? Let's face it. When we get back to competing and being able to go out and ride, it's going to be manic and fun. So we'll have a really good fun summer dancing on our horses. Anyway, what's next? Guests coming up. Well, I did a little video during the week to tell you who's coming next week, which is fabulous. We have David Marlin coming next week. So I have a little video to show you about that, which I'm going to show you now.
Hi there, my name's Dr. David Marlin. I'm going to be live on Equidance this coming Friday, and I'm really looking forward to interacting with you all. I think we're going to be talking about how I got into horses, my work at the Animal Health Trust, when I worked in racing, my role in looking at climate for the Atlanta Olympics and how that's carried on. And I'm now working on Tokyo, which I have been for now 4 or 5 years. I think we might be talking about my role with Team GBR and possibly on my role as president of the National Equine Welfare Council. Might even touch on some of my research. I've worked in military and Formula One with people, not with horses. And some of my current research, for example, I'm working on coronavirus diagnostics, as well as we're trying to understand the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on horse owners and their horses. And maybe even some of my really recent research on saddles and stirrups. And really anything else you want to talk about. I'm quite happy to talk about guitars and photography, dancing. I let that one out of the bag. Didn't mean to say that. No, seriously. I'm really looking forward to sort of meeting you and chatting, and hope it's going to be fun and entertaining.
Another fabulous guest we've got next week. So actually, let's just have a look at what we've got here, because for this show, for this season, of course, we had Anna Ross and Beth Bainbridge at the beginning from Elite Dressage. Then we have Bobby and Paul Haler, Team Haler. So if you haven't seen either of those, go back and have a look at them. They're fantastic. Then we have the most wonderful Steph Croxford. We pretty much laughed the whole evening. Wonderful episode. Tonight, we've got Jennie, Loriston-Clarke, and of course, Charlotte Dicker from Catherton Stud, who I'll introduce you to shortly. Next week, we've got the legend, that is Dr. David Marlin, on an evening of equestrian discovery. And then we've got, would you believe it, Gillian Higgins, Horses Inside Out, is coming to join us. And I'm not even a scientist, and I'm getting all these scientists on. It's great. Then we have the big hitters. We have Sir Lee Pearson, CBE, 14 medals at Olympics for UK and he for GB, and he is coming to join us on the 19th. And then on the 26th of February, hopefully that may be near the last week in lockdown, but if it's not, don't worry, because we'll keep doing that. Tristan Tucker, the TRT method, he's coming along with Brett as well. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, that's quite funny. So that's our lineup coming up over the next few weeks. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. Clearly, quite a few people are watching, so that's a good sign. Right. Couple of other quick things I want to run you through before we introduce our guests this evening. First of all, Mrs. Equidance has been really busy with her clothing brand. Now, see this beautiful, beautiful hoodie I'm wearing, and I'm not joking. I could wear this all the time. And Catherton will tell you, I've got 2 or 3 of these. Every time I go there, I wear one of these beautiful hoodies. She's done this website, which is absolutely smashing. And if you go through it and have a look at it, you literally can pick any hoodie in any style, in any colour, with contrasting hoods, in any quality. I think there's like 1,500 different permutations. So go and have a look at that. It's Equine, EQWINE.shop, www.equine.shop. She really does know how to sell a decent hoodie, bless her. So this is all stuff to help us through our lockdown as well. It's called diversifying, isn't it? And also I want to show you this other thing, because my favourite wine in the world, literally, is from Shaw's Iberian. And it's Caballo Oscuro. Caballo Oscuro, it's absolutely gorgeous. They do whites, they do rosés, they do beautiful reds. Now, I'm not saying this because we're being sponsored. It's not that at all. It's literally my favourite wine. I got to know the guys. They're absolutely fabulous. So I said I'd give them a plug. And it's what us equestrians drink. And it's so clean, you don't even get a hangover. I'm not joking. You don't get a hangover. So Caballo Oscuro, go to Shaw's Iberian and have a look at their wines. The adverts were at the beginning, they'll be at the end too. So fabulous. Now, I've just got one more thing to say. You know, we are supporting a charity, because we're not doing this for any money. We don't take any money off the people who are advertising or people we plug. If you've got a small business, an equestrian business you want to plug, get in touch with me. If we get on well, I'm more than happy to help plug it on something like this. But the charity is the most important thing for us. And charities are finding it really hard, like riding schools are as well, because you've got lots of horses to look after, lots of overheads, and no grants to look after those overheads. So the charity that we chose is Horse World. They're actually quite close to us, up in Bristol. And the Petra, who used to be the CEO of Brooke, is now running Horse World, and she's wonderful. We have a wonderful relationship with her and the girls and the team at Horse World. So I just wanted to show you a little film, because we're going to be asking you to support us just by giving a little bit, just a little bit. Actually, it's just this. Just text Horse World to 70085 to donate £3 if you possibly can. If you like our shows and you like what we're doing, just text Horse World to 70085 and that donates £3. Or if you want, there's a link on our Facebook page to a site where you can donate more. Someone last week very generously donated £25, which was amazing. Someone else donated £10. and someone else texted Horseworld to 70085 3 times. So thank you very, very much. This is one of the reasons we are doing what we're doing, is to try and help our charity Horseworld. So with that in mind, I'm just going to play you a short film, and after this short film about Horseworld, we're going to introduce Jennie, Loriston-Clarke and Charlotte Dicker at Catterton on this screen over here. So enjoy this film.
So I'm Caris Chadwick. I'm one of the vets for B&W Equine. I work out on the road, do a bit of everything sort of day to day. But a big sort of part of my daily or my weekly life is here at Horseworld, which is where we are now.
So Horseworld is a charity. We've been here since 1952. We were originally set up to rescue old working horses, but as the needs for rescuing different types of horses have changed, fortunately all of the horses that we take in nowadays are rescued horses.
I come here every week. We do a clinic here every Wednesday. And it ranges really. It's sort of everything from your routine day-to-day stuff, coming in and seeing ongoing cases, vaccinations, blood samples, all that sort of a thing, right the way through to the big rescues that come in. Like we've sort of had one last night. They come in, and that's where the real challenge comes for me. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, we had an emergency last night. We got a call from myself and another member of staff got a call from our managing director about 8 o'clock to say that there was a mare that had got stuck underneath a lorry body, and could we make sure that we were on site to be able to receive the mare coming in.
This is where we start with them, so we have to go in and have a full analysis and things, but she was certainly in a very bad way. I don't think she probably would have lasted much longer where she was, because she was trapped away from water, and had sort of sustained quite serious injuries. Obviously the longer they are, they thrash around, and that's where you sort of get the fractures and things. She's fully sort of weight bearing and walking okay, so we think we're okay from that point of view, but yeah, sort of one of the nasty cases that we would come across, unfortunately.
So there we go, the wonderful work that Horseworld do. Honestly, please, 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 we would love to do this just for our health. We're not asking for any money. We don't make any money for making these shows, nor do our guests. We don't pay them anything to come on our show. It's very much an all pulling together in these tough times. So if you're an equestrian and you would like to help, our effort we don't mind giving, but if you could just please, 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 let me just find that screen again. Text to give Horseworld to 70085. That's Horseworld to 70085. It's £3. And I know it's not the easiest of times at the moment, but it's just £3. You can text that as many times as you want, mind, or you can go to the Horseworld site and make a donation. But we'd really appreciate it, because it's one of the main reasons we're doing what we're doing at the moment. So that in mind, we have a party coming up. So we have this crazy idea. After David Marlin next week, on the Saturday night, we're going to host a virtual party. So it would be like this, but it won't be in the studio. We're setting up a separate room with lights and balloons and bottles of wine and all sorts, and we're going to have a party. So for those of you who haven't been able to get out and really want an excuse to have a party, get dressed up, get some wine, have some fun, here's what's going to happen. We're going to run a fancy dress competition or a best dress competition. So either or. You send your photos in on the night, we will show them on the screen, and we will give away seriously, seriously good prizes for the best ones. Also, we're going to run a raffle on the night. And one of the prizes in the raffle is a £150 Equidance voucher towards freestyle music. So this is going to be a really cool night to come along to. Also, we're running an equestrian pub quiz. I don't quite know the logistics of how that's going to work yet, but we're running a pub quiz. So here is our party night, 8 p.m, Saturday the 6th of February, entry free for all, as always with what we do. Celebrate with us, prize for the best dressed equestrian pub quiz, and we are going to have so much fun. More details to follow, but please stick it in your diary and come and join us for the party, or the virtual party of the year. So that's it. That's all my bits and bobs done. I'm now going to introduce Jennie and Charlotte with a little video. And once this video is open, they'll be here with me.
Hi, I'm Jenny, and welcome to Cathiston Stud. In quite a nice sunny day among the rain. Yes, we've got the indoor, we've got an outdoor surface as well. We've got 100 acres here, of, just in this area, which is really nice. And, when fields are empty, we ride some out in fields. There's a big 20-acre field we sometimes canter around, which is nice. Trot and canter, it's undulating land. So that's quite good. It makes them trot up the hills and that sort of thing.
So this is where you teach from?
That's a big boy, yes. Well, that's when the weather's like this, definitely. Sometimes we go out outside in the outdoor school. Yes, this is a godsend in this weather. And snow and ice. Horses tell you what they like and don't like, and I find that fascinating. You've only got to look them in the eye, and they tell you things. Do you know?
I get to know that more and more every year.
Yes,
as I get to know them more.
And so many people sort of rather take them as a sort of machine. They're not a motorbike. That goes faster, slower, or bounces up and down. They're a feeling animal, aren't they? And I think the working in partnership is what to me, that's what dressage should be all about. There we are, yes. So that's what I like. I love my carrots.
Working in partnership, that's what dressage should be all about. Ladies and gentlemen, a very big welcome to Jennie Loriston-Clarke and Charlotte Dicker, all the way from Cathiston Stud. How are you ladies tonight?
Good evening.
Yes, we're very well, thank you. Yes, we're fighting fit, and it isn't raining, so that's nice.
So have you suffered or had the joy, whichever way you look at it, of the snow this year?
Yes, we had a bit
Very
of snow,
little.
but it wasn't much, and it soon went away again. But it looked nice for a little bit.
Now tell me, first of all, is everyone well? Is everyone well and healthy? That's the most important thing.
Touch the wood.
Yes.
Touch wood.
wood.
We're good.
Yes, I'm going for my vaccination tomorrow.
Oh, you got your date through?
Yes. I've got my time, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's brilliant news. Congratulations. I was doing a little live thing on my personal page yesterday where people just phone in and talk to me. Anyone, randomly, if they want to share anything or talk about anything. And the second caller was my mum phoning me up to tell me that they had their jabs on Sunday booked, which I got a bit emotional about, I've got to say. So wonderful.
No, Anthony's happy. I'm now having mine, so. So that makes us two old fogies, um, hopefully protected.
Well, that's fabulous news. So now we're going to have to go right back here, Jenny. Charlotte, we'll talk to you in a bit about the training, but a lot of people wanted to know. Actually, I think we're going to start with a question because, I told you earlier, a lady asked about the history of how things happened. I'm going to ask you a lot about that, but should we just kick it off with that question so we can start from the beginning and work up? Because there's so much to talk about from the stories from the early 80s. I've got some video footage that you didn't know I had, by the way, Jenny. So we're going to share some of that as well, just to surprise you. And you might be able to tell me what it is and what's going on. But first of all, let's have a look. There was a lovely question. I think it was question number 4. I'm going to have to find it, though, so bear with me. Hang on a minute. This is the problem when you're trying to produce and do your entire video yourself. Where is it? Chelsea Knight. No, it's not. It doesn't seem to be there. Oh, great. I shall find it in a minute. But let's start from the beginning. Where did it start for you, Jenny? I mean, how did it start for you? Were you always into dressage? As a child, did you ride? What's the story?
Well, I suppose brought up with a horsey family. My parents were sort of very keen. Well, my father was in the First World War in the King's Troop, Battle of the Somme. He was one of the few to come back.
Wow.
He was a great horseman. He travelled the world before. I think he was only 17 when he signed up for the army. But he'd already been to Australia sheep farming, and he'd been to America doing ranching. And that's when war broke out, and he came home and joined the King's Troop. Mother had always been playing about with ponies, I think.
Yeah.
Hence the book Darky, which was all about a pony she found in I think she found it in a chicken coop somewhere. It's a little black pony, which we learnt. I think was the first pony I ever sat on. But she taught it all sorts of circus tricks. It used to blow out the candle, pull the blanket over it, go to bed. It used to count and do all sorts of things, stand on its hind legs, and she was very clever. Not that I really witnessed it. I was too young when she was doing that. She did all this for sort of charities. She had her own little circus. And her sister trained all the dogs, and they all did funny things too. And her brothers were the clowns, and so it went on. so I was brought up into a horsey family, really, and both of them taught me so much. Which not until you get older do you really realise how much they did teach you.
No, right.
Father was amazing. I had three older brothers. Anthony point-to-pointed in Hunter Trial. Mike rode in the Rome and Tokyo Olympics. And Charlie, he did everything. He nearly lost his arm when he was 9 by walking across the road when the car was coming, unfortunately. And his arm nearly got ripped off by the door handle of the car when he was meant to be a gate for the tractor driver. So he was encouraged to ride. He did ride anyway, but he was encouraged to ride a lot to get his arm to work.
Yeah, of course.
And so actually holding the reins and closing his fingers and things, because they had to do various transplants. I don't know. He's in Exeter Hospital for years, and he was only 9, I think, when it happened. But anyway, Charlie was a great character. He really loved machines. And if you went to a show and you'd lost him, you knew where to find him. He was always looking at tractors or something. So
that sounds a bit like me. That's what I'd be doing.
We all go. And then Jane, of course, she won badminton twice on our Nobby and Warrior, and then went to the Olympics, the Mexico Olympics, in '68.
Wow.
One of the first women to ride a 3-day event, because that was the first time they opened it up for women to ride. And she had 2 crashing falls on our nobby, but still finished, and the team won the gold medal. So that was, great. Although our nobby was only a little thoroughbred horse of 15 hands just, and he won badminton by being, I think it was, I can't remember quite what his dressage score was. It was way down. He was about 60 at the dressage. He came up on the cross country to be second, and then won it on a clear round show jumping. So he was an amazing horse, but he wasn't easy.
So tell me,
especially in the dressage.
Where was Catherston based back then? Wasn't it based down? You were down in Dorset, wasn't the original Catherston stud?
Yes, the original Catherston was down in Dorset. With we had 2,000 acres there, 5 farms, quite a big enterprise. Dairy farm. We had beef cows, red poles.
Yeah.
We had Guernseys for the milk. We had red poles for the beef. We had sheep, pigs, and loads of ponies, which they bought off the moors wild virtually, and Dad tamed them and we broke them virtually, or if we couldn't break them, Dad did. So if we got bucked off, then Dad would ride them and they'd buck and he'd still be sitting on them even if they were on the floor, and they'd get up and shake themselves and say, oh dear, that didn't work.
So Charlotte, are you riding wild ponies now, or has it gone a little bit better for the breeding perspective?
Gosh, they're not wild like they used to be, I tell you. On the whole, most of them are so much easier now. But oh yes, they were wild. They hadn't never been haltered. Of course, they'd been left roaming the Welsh mountains, Exmoor, Dartmoor, and that's where Mum and Dad used to go and pick up a few for peanuts. I think Skipper, my Exmoor pony, he cost £15.
So was Skipper,
stop him all.
Was Skipper your first pony then, or is there a story before that?
Oh no, he wasn't my first. No, I had Foxy, my first pony. He was a very difficult to catch. Foxy, he was a very wily pony, but he was very good when he was ridden. He was a lovely little, I don't know, brown nondescript pony. But of course, Mum trained them all to go rather well, which in those days, they were all, well, they had no mouths. They weren't taught to go up to the bridle properly or carry themselves. They either had, stronger bits because you couldn't stop them, or whatever. So you had to manage with what you were given.
Absolutely, I totally understand that. So what was the story? You started riding on ponies, on wild ponies. What was your first discipline? What really took you? What excited you?
Oh, I don't know what excited me. We just did whatever Mum and Dad did, which was mostly hunt. We hunted a lot.
Of course.
And we had these show ponies, which mostly did everything a little bit. Sometimes we hunted some of them as well, but and basically that was our sort of, should we say, our shop window. Was Mum had a wonderful eye for seeing something in the rough. It could be skin and bone, and she could see that when it was properly fed and looked after, nurtured and things, she'd bring them back to be some lovely ponies that became champions. One of them was pulling a knacker's cart in Ireland, and it was so thin they wouldn't even ship it out of Ireland. But he was my favourite pony, Mossy. And he became, in I think 3 or 4 months, I remember Dad feeding him eggs and brandy. Because he was so ill when we got him.
Oh, bless.
Yes, I think he had quite a good concoction of nosh of some sort. But then Dad had learnt so much from, I think, saving horses in the army and things, from all these dreadful diseases they got in the swamps and all that, with all, things like Doreen and all these dreadful diseases, which luckily now we don't see. But that he was, you know, really, well, he was a real horseman. My father was an amazing horseman. He never raised his voice. He could throw a lasso and catch anything in a herd, and that's how we used to have to catch them sometimes, because they were so wild you couldn't get near them. He'd lasso them, pull them to him, slip a head collar on them, have 3 men lead them home.
Oh my goodness me. Wow, what a thing, what a story. Fabulous.
And then about 3 weeks' time, they'd all be being ridden quietly, because he'd play about in the garden with them, sort of just wandering about, doing a bit of weeding, and turn round and tickle the noses and talk to them. And, you know, he was a little bit like Monty Roberts without going stupid on it, you know, without commercializing it, if you like.
Yeah.
But he had that touch, and he taught you to, you know, how to be strong, how to be quiet, how to relax with them, how to I don't know, just how to feel how they are, and to be yourself with them. You know, you can either be aggressive and look like a lion, and they say, oh gosh, you know, you look dangerous, or you could just be passive, which is really what Monty Roberts has really commercialized on and taught a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things. But Dad never actually taught us. We just watched it.
Yeah.
And you know, learn to do it. You say, you know, get on it, get off it, get on it, get off it. Stay relaxed. Just like a, you know, you're just like a bit of bran on top of it. You're just leaning over it. You're getting off it. You're stroking it. And then, you know, in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you were probably sitting on top of it. and then another 10 minutes, you'd probably be leading you around on it, and so on. And you know, so you got over all the nerves, if you like, of the horse, because Dad was so relaxed, and he made you so relaxed. There was the odd one, of course, that didn't work quite like that. Well, then he'd get on it.
Crash test dummy dad. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but you know, I've really discovered over the years, and I came late to the party with horses, really, but I've discovered how much you can fall in love with them so quickly and discover their personalities, and that they're not machines. You know, they're sentient beings to be respected and loved. And I had a conversation with you last week about that really touched me. You were saying, you know, they're not motorbikes. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Some people treat them like that, unfortunately. I've seen it at shows. I remember having an argument with some well, he wasn't a gentleman anyway by his language, but he had his child jumping this pony up and down over the practice fence, up and down, till it drove me insane. I said, do you really want to wear it out, that pony? He said, well, what do you know about it? And I said, well, a little bit more than you do. Gave me such foul language. I had to go back and ask my parents what it meant.
maybe he's watching now, Jenny. Maybe.
Good. I hope he is.
Fabulous.
I've had moments.
From the ponies and from Dorset, what happened with your career specifically when you started riding, obviously, and loving it? And when did you discover that was going to be your career?
I don't know. Well, I suppose I always enjoyed the riding. What I didn't like was riding in the cold. We did have the odd time when it snowed in Dorset, and we lived right on the overlooking Lyme Regis Bay, Charmouth, where Catherston was, and right up on the top of Stonebarrow. We had 60 acres. And once it snowed really hard, and we had, you know, feet of snow. Well, not feet. It must have been about, I should think, 6 inches. Well, I don't know what that is in centimeters. You know, I'm so old now. But anyway, it's quite deep. But yes, you know, quite deep. And I was riding along on this pony because we had to round these ponies up and bring them all back to Catherston, which was lower down. And I was going along on this little Welsh pony, you know, and suddenly the pony went into a dip, you see, and I ended up sitting in the snow because it had brushed me off, only it disappeared into a dip, and I was sitting on top of the snow. I was soaking wet, and it was freezing cold, and that really I didn't enjoy that. Although it was very funny afterwards, but it wasn't so funny at the time.
Of course,
as we then carried on rounding up all these ponies and galloping them all home through the snow. It was quite exciting, but
so of course up there with the wind as well, the snow would have drifted. So all the side bits would, because the drifts up where we get them. If we get snow, it's not the snow, it's the drifts. So all the edges up against. Yes, yeah, these massive deep things. Yeah, I remember a time when Kelly was going up to look after the horses. It was when we had all that snow 2 years ago, and it wasn't. We never get much snow down here, but that's 2 miles up on the Mendips, and it's always snow up there. So if it's snowing, you get it up there, but not down here. She goes, "Oh, I don't need to take the 4-wheel drive. I'll just take the estate car." And of course, spent the next 2 hours digging herself out at where she got stuck on the top. in just equestrian gear, you know, not the thick jacket. And she was just like, oh. So that was quite funny. So not a fair weather rider, only a fair weather rider then, Jenny.
Oh yeah, that's why I have an indoor school now. We're very lucky here.
Yeah, I've seen your school and I've seen your perch where you sit and teach, and it is marvellous. What a lovely space to be in.
Yes, we're very lucky now, but we didn't have one in those days. We had a tennis court which was converted into an outdoor school, but that was it. Everything was done in the fields or in this little, I suppose it was may have been about 40 by 60, 40 by 20 if you're lucky. I'm not sure how big a tennis court is really, but anyway, it was converted.
Probably quite sort of tennis court, so it's going to be more than 20 wide. I wouldn't think it would be that much more than 40 long though. So wow, yeah, absolutely. We've got one of those strange sizes, you know. I think we got a 25 by, oh no, hang on. Yeah, 25 by 35 or something. It's basically a lunge pen. Cheers. Oh, you're both having a drink, so cheers.
Yep, cheers.
So, where did it go from there? How did you end up becoming the formidable legend that you are now, Jenny?
Well, we always used to go, well, we often used to, you know, qualified at the Horse of the Year show with our ponies, you know, the 12-2, 32, 14-2 show ponies. That's all we had in those days. And later on, working hunter ponies came in and so on. But in those days, it was 12-2, 13-2, 14-2, and we qualified various ponies for Wembley. It was then, no, it was Haringey originally. Haringey, right. Yes, which I think is now the, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know where Haringey is now. Anyway, it's taken over completely. And I went there with Mum, and we saw this lady. It was 1952, and this lady called Madame Hartel, who'd won the silver medal at the Helsinki Olympics. I think it was in '52, and I saw her. She couldn't. She was on walking stick. She had walking you know, crutches. She was on crutches, and I saw these men lift her onto this rather plain-looking hog-mane mare, bay mare, and no white on it. And she went and did a dressage display. You know, asked by the Horse of the Year show to do a display to she did it to music, right. And it was just beautiful. And I couldn't believe that lady, you know, of how disabled she was, could control and manage all these things like one-time changes, piaffe, passage, pirouettes, everything, you know. And it was lovely to watch, and that inspired me. And I thought, you know, I said to my mum, I said that's what I want to do when I grow up, you know.
Oh wow!
And that's where I gradually got there.
So she was riding to music. What year was that?
That roughly was in 1952. I was 9 then.
Oh, it's lovely to hear that music and dressage were married together way back then as well.
Yeah, but you see, at the shows, a lot of the dressage riders abroad did, they did do demonstration. They did demonstrations, like that. And it was really much later on when actually it came into being part of the competition. Much later on, I'm not quite sure what year it was that we did it at Goodwood. And then my husband Anthony, he sort of organised some of the music, and Claire Morrison, as she was then, Claire Moyer, and then with Gaynor Colburn, I did a sort of demo at Wellington Riding. She played some music, and we played about with that when Dutch Courage was around, and that all sort of started up, and then gradually it became the thing for the FEI. But it was actually at Goodwood that they sort of introduced it into being a competition, and it was done sort of as a trial run, if you like. But of course, Goodwood was the most lovely place to work at, although it was outside, and we did have the odd thunderstorm or hailstorm or something. But it was lovely. And yes, and we had people like Robin Cousins judging.
Yes.
The skater, he was one, and then there was somebody. It wasn't Dame Margot Fontaine. It was somebody else, a famous ballet dancer. She judged it. They judged the artistic side of it.
I read this.
Technical.
Yeah, because I was looking back at the kind of like the beginnings of freestyle, if you like. And originally, freestyle was considered that it was going to ruin dressage. It was going to be the death of dressage. You can't choose your own moves. It's crazy. What's your take on that?
Well, that was ridiculous, because you had if you like the technical things you had to produce. It's just that you did it to music. But then the Spanish riding school have been doing that for centuries.
Absolutely.
They've been doing this pas seul with the reins in one hand, the whip held vertical, and the pas seul was all done. Well, it was all done to music in Vienna.
Yeah.
So what was so unclassical about it? And they were saying it wasn't classical. It was a load of bollocks, really, wasn't it?
It really was. Honestly, I've really been reading about this because I was quite nervous to talk to you about the beginnings of how dressage turned to freestyle as well. And so many contradicting views on it. So many people staking their claims in being like the originator or the beginning and all this. But actually, it was quite an organic kind of route that was perpetrated by a team of people with yourself on a panel in the FEI, but they really thought it was going to ruin dressage. It was quite interesting to read. And then, of course, they ate their words soon afterwards when it became so popular.
Yes, and that was Volvo, wasn't it? Volvo in the World Cup.
Exactly.
Then made it so popular because then we had to qualify, all from all around the world, and everybody got very enthused about the whole thing, and it's lovely now, and everybody loves to watch it.
I think
because,
it is.
Even the person when I went to the Olympics in London, I was a steward there, and I came back, and the girl who helped me occasionally in the house, she who knew nothing about horses at all, she was just a lady down the road who came in and helped dust and do things, and she said, "Oh, now I understand what you're all about." She said, "It's really beautiful," and she got really hooked on it, and she knew nothing about horses, nothing about music particularly. She was just a lovely lady, and she got really into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you and I both know, Jenny, that when you put horses and music together, magic happens. because they really complement each other. And that's why I have a passion for this business, even though I don't ride. And I know you were very instrumental in the whole pushing forward of that. And can we at this point, can I play an early piece actually? I've got some video here. Let me just find, and you can tell me what it is actually. Choose file, let's find it. Bear with me a minute. Where's my JLC folder? JLC evening. Okay, so this is a bit of video from 1985, and it's a freestyle you did. You will be able to see it small. You'll probably hear the music, but once we've watched this, we'll discuss it. Have a look. So there we go. We're back on. We're back live now, Jenny. That was some very, very early. 1985. Was it Goodwood? She's just having a look at it at the moment.
Did Bill do Volvo? No, I don't think.
Was it?
I don't think Dutch Courage ever did Volvo. It was before that.
So
that was Dutch Courage. It was Dutch Gold that did the Volvo.
Right.
And he was his son, one of his first crop, Dutch Gold, and he was the one that went to Paris and Gothenburg and all those places. Yes, that was Dutch Gold. So, but this I think was Dutch Courage's farewell display
At Goodwood.
when he retired.
Oh wow! I've skipped forward a bit. Then I've skipped you forward. What I want to talk about as well. We were having a discussion about when you used to go to Europe and do dressage competitions, and you know these days you've got these wonderful big 15-ton lorries with pull-out sides and luxury, and everything is so now. So you tell our audience about your stories about going to Europe originally.
Well, they'd have a fit nowadays. We used to drive to Harwich, and we used to get on a cattle truck, which was a roll-off railway.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And I usually went with Lorna Johnson, and we went with Lorna Johnson. Usually Coversano Caprice, who was Yoke Hall's Lipizzana stallion, and I had Desert Storm. That was my first horse I ever took abroad. We'd go on this train. We used to hang a pole from the ceiling of the thing across between the horses, between each horse. So we had a stallion, a mare, and two geldings. And we used to sleep in the middle with their hips eating hay all over us. So Lorna Johnson used to take a hammock and she used to swing from the roof. And then when we got to the other side, she used to take her husband, Colonel Johnson, and of course they had a girl groom whose name I forget, I'm afraid now, who I swear her trousers were made out of bran sacks. But anyway, she was a lovely girl. But anyway, when we got the other side, Colonel Johnson was turfed out with his suitcase, and he had to catch a train because it wasn't proper for him to travel with the girls.
Oh.
So turned out to get a passenger train, and we went by train. Usually only at night. They only travelled horses at night, and you used to put a piece of hay. You used to plat up some hay and hang it outside the truck so that they didn't chunt you so much. If your horse is on, they didn't treat you like a cattle quite so hardly. So we used to go, and we went. My first trip was to Hamburg, Cologne, and Aachen. So Hamburg was the first place. So you used to get off the train at the Hamburg, where they unloaded cattle or whatever, tack them up, and then you rode to the showground through the streets of Hamburg. And then you sent a truck came round and took all your belongings and all your hay and food and everything else you took with you to the showground, but you rode the horses.
Oh my goodness me! So it was literally forever. Cattle class. It was cattle class travel where you slept on the floor with the animals.
And I mean, I can always remember going through Aachen, where they've got an awful lot of those tram lines, in Aachen, and you had to be very careful. Horses didn't slip if you had to really cross the tram line and not make sure you never went on it. Otherwise, they'd have lost their legs on the metal. So we learned to go across the tram lines rather carefully, but it was about 4 or 5 in the morning, and there wasn't that much traffic. Of course, there was nothing like the traffic there is now in those days. But that's how you went to every show, and then you rode all the way back to the station again and untacked and stuck them on the truck and went on to the next one, so on. So can you imagine half of them doing that now?
No, I can't. But I tell you what, at this juncture, I've actually got some video from Aachen from 1985 too. So I'm going to play that for our viewers right now, if I can find it, that is. Here's me again trying to produce and everything. So we've got, where is it? Aachen, 1985. It's the Grand Prix special on Dutch courage. So I'm going to play that now for our viewers. So they can. It's just that I've actually shortened it and I've put some music behind it, not because it's a freestyle, just so it's not just quiet. Here we go.
When I first went to Aachen, when you did that, when you did your dressage test, you had to trot onto the grass verge there, and you had to jump a fence on your way out. Yeah, I did that with Desert Storm. It was the first time I went there, and yes, you had to jump on your way out.
Well, was that a prerequisite of the whole test to jump on the way out?
You had to do that.
Oh my goodness!
No, I don't know how many jump nowadays. How many are even? Well, half of them, they can't even put their feet in water.
My goodness me. Well, I don't know about, yeah, well, absolutely. Some of them are, yeah, absolutely. Mollycoddled, wrapped in cotton wool.
I remember the Europeans with Dutch courage when it poured and poured with rain and the arena was nearly underwater and half the horses wouldn't even go in the ring. And he went in and I thought, well, how am I going to do Piaffe at X, which was complete lake? You know, and I just sort of clicked and said, go on, and he went, splosh, 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 splosh. And the water was flying up, and the wetter he got, the more he piaffed, and all the judges were laughing because he didn't falter at all. He just went straight on out in passage and halted at X. They were all in floods and in laughing their heads off because he was so good.
Absolutely fabulous, brilliant. So, so tell me, where you are now, your horses, of course, can be more literally bomb-proof because you have an MOD stationed right by you, don't you?
Oh yes, we have plenty of bombs go off, fireworks, bombs, and lots of helicopters. Yeah, they circle over our indoor school and do a sort of dive into Middle Wallop airfield when they're doing some special display for, you know, some dignitaries who are possibly going to buy them or something. I don't know. They do an air show anyway, most August, the end of August or sometime like that.
Well, because
we get very.
I came to film your intro, of course, and I was really excited about flying my drone and getting an aerial shot of Charlotte trotting down the drive and over. And I set up the drone, and it's all because it's like a professional drone. And I looked at my screen and I went to start up, and a big red sign came up on my screen: "You cannot fly here, military zone." and then I started hearing the bombs, and literally it's like, boom, and then the horse is just there like this. Yeah, whatever.
No, I think you're used to it, don't you?
Yes, we have heavy tractors and things go up and down. They get used to it. It's very, very good training. You know, after all, the horses have got to be obedient and happy to work with you, really. And you know, if they're what I call conditioned to all sorts of things in life, then they take less stress about it, less stressed about everything.
That's fabulous. Now, Jenny, before we go on to some questions that we've got for some people, I want to ask Charlotte a couple of questions. Charlotte, your career is really taking off. Tell me, what's your training routine at the moment? What do you do every day? How many horses do you ride? What's your life like at the moment?
So at the moment, I come out on the yard with all the girls, and I'm generally on my first horse at about 7. We're very lucky to have a super team here. My days of doing stables are slightly sidelined at the moment. We've got a lot of horses in, both clients and our own homebreds, which is really exciting. So there are lots to ride. So yeah, I'm out riding under the watchful eye every day, which I'm very fortunate to have. Yeah, that tends to be, and then the afternoons I'll be riding anything from 10 to 15 a max a day, and afternoons are for catching up and, you know, first thing in the morning check all the horses and then I'm on to riding, and the afternoon is just taking the time to go back around all my horses and keeping things in order.
Okay, so tell me also, what have you got standing at stud at Catterston this year? Obviously Timmerlin.
Oh well, yeah, of course we have Timmerlin. Then we also have Tiger Attack, who is one of my current rides. He's been a very, very good show horse, and he's also evented at novice level, and I've taken the reins on in the dressage arena. So he's a multi-purpose stallion and great to work with. We also have Opposition Bombshell, who I'm very fond of.
We know all about yes, we're very fond of him too. That's right. He's the father of our 3-year-old Avalon. So yeah.
Then of course we have his son Cathiston Oakley, who's a really exciting young stallion, who we've now based with Gubby Leach, who's a 5-star eventing rider, and he's far braver than I am, so you can go and do the big stuff with him. And of course, not forgetting Little Bright Star, our pony stallion.
Yeah.
He's still going and as lively as ever, and he belongs to Philly Adams, but he stands here with the stud.
Fantastic. So the classic name of Cathiston still rides on with absolute majesty with some amazing stallions.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have a super group of owners. Of course, Tiger Attack is owned by Joanne and Billy Moran, so we're lucky that we do the stud side here, but they can also have a competition career. And of course, Lizzie, co-owner of Timberland with Granny, she comes in and I'm so excited to see him at Grand Prix this year. Yeah. With Lizzie, and they're a really exciting pair and a super stallion to have in the country.
Oh, thank you so much, Charlotte, for filling us in all that. I'm going to move to some questions now, if I can find them, because actually I couldn't find the edited versions of the questions I had earlier, which is really strange. So I'm going to have to go to another hard drive. Having said that,
you can read out here.
You've got one you can read out? Okay, yeah.
No, let me pass it to you.
I've got Mrs. Equidance here as well, see?
This is from Beverly Brown. She's over in California.
Oh, we've got a question from Beverly Brown in California. How interesting. Jenny, I watched one of your freestyles from 1991. You were riding Dutch Gold. I was very impressed with your floor plan, especially the walk pirouette into canter pirouette. Did you help with the floor plan and the music, or did you put it all together yourself? Great question.
I know which floor plan that is. Well, me do that too.
I did the floor plan. I also did Piaf pirouette into canter pirouette.
Yeah.
I did the floor plan. I can't remember whether it was Anthony did the music or Claire Morrison for that in 91. That was 91. Where I can't remember where she said it was.
Where was it?
I'm so sorry.
Oh, so the message is gone now. Hang on.
Yes.
It just says 1991 on Dutch Gold. It doesn't say where.
No, it doesn't say where. Just 1991 on Dutch Gold.
Dutch Gold. Oh, I think that might have been either Gothenburg or Paris. But yes, that was. I thought it was getting all rather boring. Like all the floor plans seem to be rather the same. So I thought we'd try and jazz it up by doing different things and different, making the judges think a bit more.
So you designed the floor plan yourself by coming up with something a bit more inventive and upping the degree of difficulty, obviously, which now, as a mark, you have to, at Grand Prix, you have to enter that in advance so they know what's happening nowadays. But Anna Ross asked me to ask you this. She said, look, Jenny's floor plans were so inventive. They were crazy. People were thinking, how could you do that? So some of these pirouettes from walk into canter pirouettes and all sorts, she goes, they were just crazy. They were like, you can't do that on a horse. Tell me about that.
Well, they're quite simple, really. I mean, you're either walking
quite simple, really.
Cantering it. I mean, you aren't fit for it. The horse is quite capable of doing it. It's just we don't think about it. I mean, out of that, I went into one-time changes down the long side, and then I did a pirouette. Then I turned right, did a pirouette on the centre line, and then came out in canter, and then did one times down the long side again. To the other way. So I did a sort of square serpentine, if you like, out of that lot, which, was different. And I always, and then you do extended canter or something, and then I mean, now they think it's amazing to do extended canter and then back to a pirouette. Well, it's not really that difficult. But of course, you get a degree of difficulty for doing it. But if the horse is obedient and light on the aids, it's lovely.
So obedient and light on the aids. That's the important thing you said right there. So okay, I know you can't tell us how the whole thing works, but in your eyes, the training to get a horse to be that obedient and compliant with how you want to work with it, where'd you go with that?
Well, having some empathy with your horse. I think, if you train it correctly and it's not sort of jazzed out of its mind and tense and wondering when it's going to get a kick up the belly or one in the teeth or whatever, a horse should be, the whole thing should be harmonious, and that's what I think the FEI says something in their book about, as if the horse is doing it for itself. And that's how it should appear, that you're only guiding it. Like doing a zigzag with the reins in one hand. I did that in Paris, and the people all watched afterwards and thought it was absolutely marvellous. And then I went into extended canter, collected, and a flying change, all with the reins in one hand. And it does show that the horse is in balance and in harmony with you. And that's, to me, the essence of what we're all looking for.
Absolutely.
In some ways nowadays, in some ways, it's getting so what I call, got to be so jazzy. The piaffe has got to be so sort of knees up, Mother Brown, and practically knocking its teeth out with its knees. And it's got to have its legs flying about in extended trot that, that they're going in overdrive. And
Yeah.
And is that why a lot of these horses aren't staying sound?
Good question.
Are we pushing them too much? In some ways, I just love to see the harmony and that sort of thing, and that's where Anna Greta Jensen, she's now Anna Thornplatz, with Martzog years ago. She did very harmonious performances on Martzog, and Kira Kirkland, and those people, they did very harmonious tests to amaze. Some of them had amazing music that really fitted to the way the horse was going, and that's what made everybody's hair stand on end. That's what they really loved to see, and their toes would tap because they were so in time to the music. And I did a load with Dutch Gold. I think one of my first freestyles, where we never thought we were going to the Europeans. He was only about 8 or 9, and I did my first freestyle there, where I never expected to even get into it, all with Scottish and Irish jigs.
Oh, reels, yes.
Scottish music. And I remember Gunnar Anderson, who was helping me at the time. He had tears in his eyes when I came out. But the horse was so in touch with the music, or the pair of us, the horse doesn't actually do it for itself, but you have to guide it and get into the rhythm of the music. And that's when it's so lovely, isn't it?
Absolutely. Do you know what? The best freestyles, in fact, the best dressage I love watching is where the rider is almost a ghost on the back of the horse. And you don't see any of the aids, you don't see any of the commands, you just see a horse moving beautifully, and the rider is so still and quiet. Ingrid Klimke is one of my favourite riders for that. Just watching her, it's phenomenal. So you know exactly what I mean. I'm going to play something actually, because also you're in handwork. You're very much known for your long reining and your in-hand work, and I've got a great video of you actually. If I can find it, hang on a minute, I've got to find it first of all.
Definitely need a drink on that.
You need a drink, yeah, you definitely do. Yes, because I'm going to play the whole thing actually. So yeah, you do need a drink on that. It is. It's with Paul Fielder, long reining on a pas de deux, long reining. So I'm going to play that for the audience now. Here we go. So is that Dutch courage and Dutch gold there?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Father and son.
We had to play that all the way through because that was just absolutely fascinating. So tell me about your long reining techniques in a nutshell.
Well, I tried to do what I'd seen done at the Spanish riding school, but then when I tried it, of course, the Lipizzanas are rather small, and when I tried doing it the same on Dutch courage, I mean, I'd have my hands up here somewhere, so I just sort of devised my own way, using the lunge reins a little bit like I would use my legs. So, like if you're doing a half pass, I bend it right with the right rein, half pass right, and then I just flap the left rein to make his quarters come over sideways. And then you could give the rein, and then the horse responded like you just touched it with your leg. So on. So, and it was the same with changes. That took me a little time. I had to do canter, walk, canter, and then just touch them with the outside rein to canter on whichever leg you wanted. And then instead of walking, you just give them a flick with a rein, and they'd change legs.
So actually, that looked quite tiring, Jenny. It looked like you were absolutely. I mean, I did my hobby horse challenge that people saw last week, and you saw last week as well, and I was shattered after that. How'd you go all the way round like that? Without, you must be absolutely shattered.
No, but then I was riding 10 horses, and I was fit. I was fit, and I was eventing as well, and doing 3-day events, which was then, the long format, not like it is today, where you just do cross country and the short format. But then it was the long format with the roads and tracks, steeplechase, roads and tracks, cross country, and then a miles wind down. So you were riding 19 miles, sometimes on 2 horses. So that was, was quite a long way. I did that with Xenocles and Sequest at Tidworth Horse Trials here years back. Can't remember what year it was, but and I hoped I was going to go to Badminton, but unfortunately my horse got brucellosis before it, so I never went. But I did qualify it, and so on. So that was Glengarry, who I won Chatsworth with years ago, and so on. He was a lovely horse, but an eventer. So that's more or less thoroughbred, I think. But those were the days when I was younger.
I filmed you up in the room above the indoor arena when I came up to see you, very socially distanced, of course. And I went round and I filmed you, and we had pictures of all the horses that meant something to you throughout your career. And that's a film we're going to release on our Equidance page at some point in time this week, because it's beautiful. The stories are amazing about Bubbles and everything, all the way through the whole history, and the owners and the breeding and everything. But of all the horses that you've worked with and that you've trained and that you've ridden, what are the most special moments for you, Jenny?
Oh goodness. Well, I mean, I suppose Dutch Courage was my most special, winning the bronze medal, really, at Goodwood. That was very exciting, because I was very early to go. In fact, I was the first one to go in the Grand Prix Special. And it was, in those days, you used to have a beautifully rolled centre line with crosses at X and I and, D, a G, and all that lot. And I rode down the centre line, and I thought, my goodness, they're going to have to be accurate here, because every time your football was out of line, the judges were going to notice it on the beautifully mown sand, if you like.
Mown sand, I like that. Yeah, absolutely.
So it really made you sort of focus on riding positively. I think positively, like the half passes, you had to ride really positively, and then like that, we had zigzags in those days either side of the centre line, and I sort of thought, gosh, it must be 3 strides this side and 3 strides that side. You must do it must be symmetrical, and that's what I call focus my mind on being accurate, although accuracy obviously isn't everything to do with dressage, but he was so obedient in a way, Dutch courage, and he was so willing. He never let me down, really. He always wanted to to help. You only had to, if you lost his mental state, you only had to do a little click, which hopefully the judges didn't hear, and he would sort of come back to you. And it just sort of could just get his attention, and he would listen to you, and that's where he was an amazing horse. And the same with Dutch Gold, and I think that's what he's brought through with all his stock. They've always been very willing and very I mean, Dutch Courage was quite volatile in some ways. He was easily excited, but he usually always came back to you and would listen in the end.
He's our 3-year-old's granddad, isn't he? Yeah, our Avalon. You know, our Polly's sister. He's Avalon's granddad. Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Well, great granddad, isn't it?
Is it granddad? Yeah.
By George. George's mother's by Courage. Yeah. Great granddad. Yeah.
Ah, great granddad. Yeah. Gorgeous George is our Avalon stat. Wonderful. Right. So I think I've got some lovely questions now that I've managed to find, the edited versions that we're going to ask you. So let's have a look and find them for you. Bear with me 1 minute. Again, this is me trying to edit and produce and do absolutely everything I possibly can on the night. Where's the drive? There it is. And we've got video questions on the night. And first question is from Kimberly Maudsley. Here we go.
Hi Equidance, I have a question for Jennie Loriston-Clarke. Carrington and I would like to know how to keep the young horses interested and not getting bored when we're trying to teach them the basics. And thank you Equidance for keeping us amused and keeping us interested and not letting us get bored during lockdown. Thank you.
What a lovely question. Thank you, Kimberly. So how do you keep the youngsters interested and not getting bored?
Oh, well, give them a lot to do, dear. That's not difficult. Put some poles on the ground, trot them over poles, do some turns, do some trots, some halts, some walk-ons, talk to them. Trotting poles, starting with just a few or just one to start with. Walk it over them to start with, and then keep putting things. They've got to look and think about what you're asking them, like turning. Often they're a bit gobby and they don't always turn when you say, and but just quietly insist that they do what you're asking them, and don't let them escape or get a bad habit. That's the worst thing. Is if ever they get away with something, then they'll try harder next time, and then you'll have a battle on your hands. So you've got to be sure that you are in control of it. So always start really easy. Don't hurry things. Walk them over poles, and so they're familiar with them. Or even lead. Before you get on, just lead it along. Walk it over a pole on the ground, and turn here and turn there. Walk it back again, and so on. So the horse has done it in hand, if you like, because it's seen you walk over the pole, so then it's more likely to think that it's quite safe to do it itself. So then when you do get to riding it, you're not going to sort of put up a battle, if you like. You don't want to have a battle. You want to have a harmonious workout, even if it's a bit wobbly. Gradually, when it gets its confidence, then reward it. Don't forget to reward them by your voice or a stroke on the neck or anything that just makes them feel happy that they're doing what you want. So many people don't reward the horse enough.
Oh, that's lovely. Charlotte, do you work Charlotte, do you work with young stock too?
Good Lord,
Yeah.
yes. Lots of them.
So what's your method, Charlotte, with working with the young stock to stop them getting bored and keep them focused with what you want them to do?
Yeah, variety. I mean, I couldn't get away with not with this lady here. But yeah, lots of variety. We hack our horses out a lot here. and they are literally bomb-proof, as you know. But yeah, we're lucky we have the indoor arena and the outdoor.
Can get around the fields.
Yeah, so we can ride them around the fields, pole work. Most of them will all jump as well. So they all have plenty of variety in their training and growing up in life.
I came to film you jumping, didn't I, the other day, because we had to do some stallion films for the British Breeding Society, which is now a virtual show, of course. It's not actual show. And so all these videos are last minute coming in, and I came to film you doing some jumping, which I found really exciting, I've got to say, because I don't really get to watch any jumping. And you had Tiger Attack and Timberlin jumping over 140.
Yeah.
So this is Timberlin, who's a wonderful dressage horse, stallion, and you're jumping him at 140. So jumping, I mean, I know Cathiston is synonymous with, you know, dual purpose horses, because a horse should be able to be multidisciplinary, right? And you guys are really synonymous with that. So how many times do you jump your horses as well as just flat train them?
Well, at the moment, all of them jump once a week. But in the yard we have some eventers, as well as dressage horses. So yeah, they would all jump once a week, be it little or big. They all do a form of jumping, grid work, any kind. They all get on and experience it, and they all enjoy it. They all, you know, they might have a bit of a buck or something, but it's fun for them. It's different, and you know, it's all manageable most of the time, and yeah, they like it, and we like having happy horses, and it's nice for me as well as a rider to enjoy some fun with them. It's not always just training. It is fun and enjoyable.
So Charlotte, you definitely recommend, if you're training a dressage horse, some jumping's a good idea, right?
Personal preference, but yeah, why not? I think it's very good for their bodies as well as their brains. Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Fantastic, I love that answer. Right, we're going to move on to question 2. I'm going to find it in a minute. Here we go. Question 2 is from Jess Ralton. Here we go.
Hi Jenny, my name's Jess. I have a question for you. You seem to have trained so many different horses all the way through the levels to Grand Prix, and I was wondering if you could concisely say what is your main training philosophy. What would it be?
So Jenny, what's your main training philosophy? What would that be?
I think teaching the horse the aids, getting them confident in what they're doing, and then letting them express themselves and not be like strung up by the reins. Right. I think they need freedom to express themselves, and I think that's very important. That once you, like, you know, some people, for instance, in a half pass, they bend it in the direction it's meant to be going. It's meant to have a bend, but you shouldn't be what I call hanging on to that bend. You should be able to give and retake the reins and still do a half pass or a shoulder in or whatever. And the ultimate is to be able to do the changes and things without, you know, using the reins really, which is shown up actually in that long reining thing. Yeah. Those horses are doing the changes without you hardly touching the reins. They're just skipping. And you're skipping behind them, so you haven't got time to pull on the reins. The horses are doing it for themselves, and that's what it should be like.
Ah, what a fantastic answer. Absolutely brilliant. So there you go. We've got another question coming up here as well, and this one is from Kirsty Newnham. Here we go.
Hi Jenny, this is Kirsty from the Isle of Wight. I'd like to ask you about flying changes. How you ride them, how you set them up, and going on to then your tempi changes. I am currently riding at advanced, and I'd like to go out and do a pre-St George test. So any tips or advice would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Did you hear all that about flying changes and then setting them up, how to train them, moving on to tempies? Where would you start with that, Jenny?
Well, you've got to remember that a lot of people just think that you just change the aids. But first of all, you've got to get the attention of the horse. So I call it a little half halt, say, listen to me, then give the aid. And if I'm starting changes, I start by doing a simple change, canter, walk, canter, canter, walk, canter. And then in the same place, I will then say, come around a little half circle, say 8 meters, go back towards the track, and then say, listen to me, and then give the aid. And if the horse doesn't change, walk and canter on the leg you want it to canter on, so it gets the gist in its brain. And then go back and do exactly the same way again until if it gets excited, then don't do it. Don't even ask for it. Just do canter, canter, or a simple change again. So you get the horse to listen to you, but you must get the horse first of it's got to get its brain, so that then its brain can change its legs. So it's all in a sort of a canter. So you're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Listen to me with both legs. Listen to me as you want to ask for it, to pay attention. Then you change the leg aids and put it on the other leg. And possibly you might bend it, have a little bit flexion to the new leg. But then if you overflex it to the new leg, you then make it leg behind. So you've got to be careful that you don't pull on the inside rein to change the leg, and then the front leg changes, but the back leg doesn't.
Wow.
And of course the back does a smaller step than the front legs. So you've got to be aware of that, and you always want to have somebody there to watch you to see if it changes behind, because sometimes you can't feel it.
So that's an amazing answer. For those of you who didn't actually watch that, rewind that and watch it at a later date, because that is expert advice. Thank you so much, Jenny. That's awesome. And I'm sure our question person would absolutely... Who asked that question? That question was from Kirsty Newnham. I'm sure she's going to really enjoy that answer. I've got one more question for you, Jenny. This is from Annabelle Darrell-Rue. And this is the one we were talking about earlier about tack. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Annabelle Darrell-Rue. My question for Jenny is about how tack is fitted for the comfort of the horse and encouraging a harmonious partnership. Bridles often appear to me to be too tight. Throat lashes used to allow somebody to put their hand in sideways between the neck and the throat lash. Nosebands used to allow relaxation of the jaw, and brow bands allowed movement of the ears. I find the way in which nosebands, particularly crank nosebands, are fitted concerns me. I've seen flashes so tight that you couldn't even put a finger underneath them. Please will you tell me your views and how you teach people to fit bridles properly? Thank you very much.
Oh, quite a controversial question there, Jenny. How are you going to answer that one for me?
Well, I agree with the lady in many ways. The bridle should be correctly fitted with the bit not too high in the mouth. When I'm teaching, I often find that the bits, particularly snaffle bits, are much too high in the horse's mouths, that then pull the inner lip into the molars. And that then makes it obviously very uncomfortable, because they then pinch chew the inside of their lip. So they have a sore lip. And that makes, so then they feel a bit mouthy. So what do? They tighten the noseband up. Yeah. So when we back our horses or break our horses in, we always start with an easy bit. Sometimes a metal bit, but a thickish mouthpiece, depending on the horse. Sometimes a plastic mouthpiece, or whatever they look comfortable in. But on the whole, I don't like cavesons. I don't often use in fact, I've hardly got a caveson on the place. Not the sort that had metal nosebands covered in leather, and then they fitted very tightly against their teeth. And of course, always have their teeth looked at before you ever start to back a horse or put a bit in its mouth.
Great advice.
Always take out the wolf teeth if they've got them, and make sure that there aren't sharp teeth, and especially at that age, they're often changing their molars, so they've got sharp bits in there along their molars, and they can pinch and cut the lips on the side of the mouth. So we usually just have a head collar on them, and a bridle. Yes, so we don't actually lunge them in a cavesson, but we're very lucky we have a lunge pen, which we can let them loose in, we can lunge them in. I do think it's very useful to teach a horse to lunge, because you don't get a lunge pen when you go to a show, and if the horse is fresh, you want to be able to lunge it.
Yeah, of course.
Without taking off across the showground. So I disagree with Monty Roberts, who says it's bad and dangerous and all that with it. That's where I disagree with him. But the horse has got to be taught to lunge properly. So it's got to be responsive again on the lunge to not try and tank off with you. So, but we're very lucky in this place that we got a lunge pen. And I loose lunge them sometimes. And that's really good for them. They enjoy themselves. They can have a kick in the butt and they can play around. But they still, because they've been taught by the voice to walk, trot and canter, they do exactly the same, walk, trot and canter and whoa. And I always taught them to whoa. Some people say stand, but if the thing's panicking, you're not going to say, stand, darling, stand. I think you're going to say, woo. You're going to say, woo. So I always teach my horses to whoa. and they stop. So that seems to be, and then you walk up to them and say, oh, good boy, give them a scratch on the head and so on. And they know you're happy and they're happy.
So
that's very important.
I've only met you twice, Jenny, and both times I've seen you talking to the horses extensively. So vocal aids, are they quite a thing for you?
Oh, definitely, yes. I'm very good at pretending I'm not talking, but I am.
Oh, fantastic. Before we move on, I've got a question actually from Mrs. Equidance. It's a really good question. What is too much contact? How would you qualify the ideal feel and weight in the rein for you?
It's got to be you've got to feel the energy coming from behind into your hand, so that you can push your hand forward, the horse takes the rein forward. If the horse sticks behind the rein, then it's too light. It's not really taking a contact. And some young horses, are a little bit fussy or whatever, and don't take the contact in the beginning. But it's not something to panic about. Mm-hmm. You've just got to work at gradually getting them to relax and gradually taking them with working. I was criticised years ago because Dutch Gold always had rather a high, short neck, and they said, oh, he's always so short in the neck, you're always pulling at him. I said, well, I'm not actually, he won't take it. Right. And it was Ferd Alberg actually who told me, he said, just get hold of the reins, keep the reins and keep cantering. And he said, when he's a bit tired, he'll want to stretch. Then when he wants to stretch, allow your hands to go with him. And then he'll teach the horse gradually to want to stretch and take your hand. And as long as you're elastic from your shoulder through your elbow to your fingers, then the horse won't feel like restricted, or, sometimes you have to tighten that elastic to control it, and then you release the elastic. But it should always be elastic. However tight the elastic has to be sometimes.
Hey, let's go to...
It's quite strong.
Let's go to our last question. We've got I think that's all our questions, because the other one was about the history. Charlotte, I've got one question for you, actually. You are the daughter in the line from some fantastic equestrians. Obviously, that's quite some pressure on you, but you've learnt quite a bit. What would be the one thing that you would take with you as an equestrian that you've learnt from your matriarch heritage?
Time. Give a horse time. There's no point in pushing for more, and yeah, give yourself also as a rider time. I think they both come together with the horse and the rider. Let the horse be. It will only give you as much as it wants to give you, and so yeah, just everything is about time.
And actually being at Catherton Stud and visiting you guys, I can see that's very much your ethos. It's very relaxed and it's very horse-centric. It's all about the horses. Yeah. And it's a shame Anne's not with us tonight, because Anne is a wonderful horsewoman too, really cares for them, and fantastic. A very natural and inspiring place to be at Catherton Stud. So, you know, I've enjoyed being there over the last year, and hopefully many more years to come. So, where are we at? Jenny, we're going to ask you now, for the riders, there are hundreds of people watching us here right now. What's the best bit of advice you could give them as a dressage rider right now in these troubling and quite tiresome times where they can't do much? What's the sort of thing they can do right now to improve their riding, up their game, and maybe even just keep them sane?
Well, I haven't really stopped, really. I mean, Lizzie comes here and rides Timmy and things, and it's been fascinating to see them progress over the time we've. You know, she did her first intermediate 2 on Timmerlin. Oh, when was that? Just before Christmas, yes. And one of her intermediate 2. There were a few mistakes, but you know, 67% with those mistakes was really quite encouraging. And I mean, okay, we haven't been to a competition since, but it's been a great time for actually consolidating things. And we've played about, I think sometimes we put something on Facebook where they're doing some one-time changes and then going a couple of strides forward and over a jump. And you know, it's still encouraging the horse to enjoy itself, but not making everything too regimented. I think nothing wants to be too regimented. If you feel you're you know, you're getting stuck, go for a nice canter in a field, or go for a good hack and make it fun. Yes, and I mean, of course, first of all, you've got to be safe. So if the thing's too fresh, we'll take it in the arena and either lunge it before you get on it, because we don't want you in hospital, for goodness sake.
No, we don't want that.
So make sure it's first. So let it have a kick and a buck on the lunge, and then get on and make sure that you're safe before you go out, so that you know, you do the obvious. Because I know we were all told that we've got to shut down, we mustn't do anything. I thought, well, we're going to have more people in hospital when we all get gone again than when we just kept going, and we've never stopped. And even, you know, I thought, well, backing these youngsters that have never been ridden before, you know, we're quite asking for trouble in some ways, but we were very careful, and luckily, you know, we managed very well, and we didn't have too many people on the floor. So that's what, you know, we want to avoid. But I think we shouldn't be, just because we're not competing, it's not to say that we have to stop. So progress your training, I would say. Is that what you...
Yeah, I think we've gained a lot more, and in this time for the younger horses, I mean, we're nearly a year from when this all started, aren't we? But yeah, the younger horses, we've been able to give them more time, and if they don't need to work, then fine, go back in the field for another few months. rush to be at a show or be in a certain place or doing this, doing that. We can really focus on the horses individually, and if they need more time, then they need more time. It's easy. There's no rush to do anything or be anywhere and have results or these things. So actually, it's worked, I think, better for us in a way, hasn't it?
Yes, and we've always been advocates of giving them like having just backed them and got them going walk, trot and canter in the arena and just hacking out a little bit. We've always liked to, what I call, turn them out for a bit and give them a 2 or 3 weeks break.
Rest,
rest, and then bring them in. And we found they've always, what I call,
come back like
a little bit more grown up. Yes, even for just having that rest.
Do you know what?
So it's rather like
absolutely
children
fabulous.
Having off-term.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like children at all, Jenny. We have children at home. We are homeschooling. It's a nightmare. As many of our watchers will know, we've got a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old, and we're not talking about horses here. We're talking about a 9-year-old boy and a teenager girl, and it's not easy at all. Because if I could let them just go out in the field and run around, I'd be a happy man right now.
Why don't you lunge them more often?
Put them in the walker.
Hang on, I'm not going to advocate lunging children. Hang on, we're going to stop that right here. So we're going to wind this down right now, ladies. It's been absolutely fabulous. Can I ask you one more thing? Can Anne please come into the shot and just wave hello to me? Because we love Anne and we haven't seen it all. Just poke your head in, Anne. Come on. Where is she?
I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's not. It's not Anne. Fabulous.
I'm sorry we haven't got Lucy here as well.
I know, we need the whole cohort. Well listen, ladies, I'm so looking forward to seeing you again. We're going to wrap this up now. I've got a few more things to say, but please don't hang up because we're going to have a chat with you after the show just to thank you so much for being involved. A couple more things to say to my crew. Guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. What an amazing thing. So much great advice, so many good things that were said tonight. And also, don't forget, next week, we've got David Marlin in the house, the scientist, so much to gain from that. And the Saturday afterwards, we are running the party. So you must come to this, 8 p.m, Saturday, the 6th of February, free entry for all, celebrate with us. Oh my goodness me, we've got some prizes coming up. There's an equestrian pub quiz, but also there's a raffle and we're gaining prizes for that. So please, please, please come along to that. But apart from that, all I've got left to say is, thank you so much for joining us tonight. What an absolutely fabulous evening. Jenny, Charlotte, say goodnight.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a wonderful evening. We'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.